Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I am very excited to inform you that Marshmallow Yummy may single-handedly have fixed all of the major flaws in the Yummy game plan and propelled Yummy to the best deck of the entire Doom of Dimensions format. Yes, that includes Vanquish Soul K9 with the new excellent K9 support. I think that Yummy may actually be the best deck of the entire format post Doom of Dimensions. So in this video, I'm going to go over the significance of Marshmallow Yummy. I'll talk about how it fixes the fatal flaws in the game plan, and I will show you a sample combo line to explain how both the card economy and the safety profile of Yummy have been dramatically improved. If you are new to my channel, I tend to stay away from combos and spreadsheets and instead focus on deck theory and game plan. What is the game plan? What are the fundamental mechanics or gimmicks that a deck revolves around that make it good? So if you like my content, feel free to subscribe, leave a comment below if you have any feedback, because I love following feedback and I will make adjustments based on feedback. Okay, so to get started, I want to briefly mention that there is actually another Yummy card that came out in Doom of Dimensions that has a very strong effect, but I don't think this will see a lot of play. I have not seen it in many OCG deck profiles, and it may not be worth playing in the TCG either, despite having the best name in the entire Yummy archetype, Yum Yum Yummies. So let's briefly go over this and why you may not be seeing this card played, and then let's get to the absolute sauce. Okay, so Yum Yum Yummies says, as a continuous spell, each time 2 or more Yummy monsters are special summoned to your field at the same time, gain 500 life points, and if you do, your opponent pays 500 life points. As we all know, these types of effects can be very strong in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but that's not the point. You can only use each of the following effects of Yum Yum Yummies once per turn. You can pay 500 life points, then target 2 face-up monsters on the field, including Yummy Snatchy. Send both to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 Yummy Synchro monster from your extra deck. This is treated as a Synchro summon. So obviously, if you're bringing out a Yummy Synchro, it means that you get to use that Synchro monster's effects. So you're usually going to be searching off of the Cupsy Synchro, you're going to be reborning off the Lollipop Synchro, or you're going to be using the Double Book off of the Cookie Synchro. Then it has another effect which says if your opponent activates a card or effect except during the damage step, you can pay 100 life points immediately after this effect resolves, link summon 1 Yummy Link monster. So you may be thinking, isn't this useful because if you didn't end up with a Snatchy on field, your opponent could activate a card or effect, you pay 100, you turn a blank Yummy into your Snatchy, and then that allows you to quick synchro whenever you want? And also, don't we get to just send one of our opponent's monsters to the graveyard so that we can synchro summon? Because you pay 500 to target 2 face-up monsters on the field. This doesn't have to be your field, it just has to include a Yummy Snatchy. Usually it'll be your Yummy Snatchy, though technically, if your opponent has Yummy Snatchy, you could also do that. But anyhow, if you send your own Yummy Snatchy to the graveyard, and then some other face-up monster your opponent had, that seems pretty strong, doesn't it? The problem with this card is not that this card is not a good card. This actually is a very solid card in my opinion. However, this is a Yummy spell card, and if you look at the typical Yummy spell card searcher, which is Cupsy Yummy, this is the one that says if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Yummy card from your deck to your hand except itself, or if it was special summoned by the effect of a Synchro monster, you can draw a card instead. This is usually the card that would be searching Yum Yum Yummies. Despite Yum Yum Yummies being so yummy delicious, instead, you are almost always going to be searching Yummy Surprise instead, because even if you have hard-drawn Yummy Surprise, even if you're playing 3 Yummy Surprise in your main deck, which honestly is worth consideration, this card, for some reason, is not once per turn. And even if you were going to use the same effect, because each bullet point is once per turn, you could use the bullet point, for example, to special summon a Yummy monster from your hand or graveyard during your own turn, and then set another Yummy Surprise, and then you could just use whatever effect on the following turn. So there really is no downside to having access to multiple Yummy Surprises, and if you haven't hard drawn the Yummy Surprise, there's basically no reason that you would ever choose to search anything else besides Yummy Surprise off of your Cupsy, because Yummy Surprise is your entire safety profile against almost any type of interaction. This is what allows you, for example, to turn a Nib token into a Link Spider, and even if you have absolutely no other gas at all, to Yummy Surprise, bring a body back, and then that can go into a Lollipop Synchro or whatever. So Yummy Surprise is so extraordinarily strong that there is basically no reason to search Yum Yum Yummies. So I'm not really sure if this card should be played or not, but anyhow, let's get on to Marshmallow and talk about the true star of the show. So if you followed my previous video where I explained some of the weaknesses in Yummy and how a lot of this deck's ability to push through stuff lies in Yummy Muse, Minion, let's just call it Minion, okay? Minion being accessible to you, you'll know that if this card is banished, you basically had no way to get this card back. This boosting Yummy monsters you control by 500 attack for each Light Beast monster on the field, which is all of your Yummy monsters, means that not only is this your path to OTK, it is essentially a win condition. You being able to either kill your opponent or run over monsters who have more than 0 attack is entirely dependent on you having access to Yummy Minion. Yummy Amusement Minion. The Minion field spell, okay? So you have to have access to this spell. If your opponent banishes it, which any deck can do because every single deck plays Little Knight, then you're just not going to be able to kill. You may, in fact, just lose the entire game, and you can consider this as a lose condition if you lose access to this card. However, Marshmallow says, if you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are Light Beast monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add a Yummy spell or trap from your graveyard to your hand, or if this card was special summoned by the effect of a Synchro monster, you can place a Yummy field spell or Yummy continuous spell or trap from your deck or banishment face up on your field instead. So now your lose condition is actually nullified by Yummy Marshmallow regaining that banished field spell. So this card fixes that issue. However, it is worth mentioning, it's actually worth hyperfixating on the fact that this is the only Yummy card that activates in the hand, okay? If you control no monsters or all monsters you control are Light Beast monsters, you see the double dots here? The semicolon, colon, whatever, this means this is an activated effect, okay? None of the other Yummy monsters do this. There is no colon, semicolon here, which just means this is an inherent summon. That means that Marshmallow does turn on Izuna. We are, in fact, in an Izuna meta. So this is important. However, you can just normal summon the Marshmallow instead. So let us get to the combo, and this will give you a better understanding of what I'm talking about here. So let's say that you're starting with your Marshmallow and a blank. Okay, so Obedient School is going to be a blank in this case. So you have your Marshmallow. You normal summon your Marshmallow. Now, remember, you do not have a Yummy spell or trap in your graveyard, so there's nothing to add to your hand. This is not going to be activating any effect right now, but we will be using this later on. So we're just normal summoning the Marshmallow right now to be a blank. The blank will go into a Snatchy, and Snatchy will place the Minion. Minion now can reborn the Marshmallow from the grave, and that allows us to go into Cupsy, which is our first search for the turn. So obviously, if our opponent has Droll, they're going to Droll us here, and unfortunately, we're not going to get to Surprise, which we don't like. We always want to get to Surprise, but still, this deck doesn't really lose to Droll that heavy because we only search twice. So now we go for the Cupsy Synchro, and here we're going to discard our blank, and we're going to search for the Cupsy and the Cookie. I have noticed that some builds are actually playing fewer numbers of Cookie or fewer numbers of Lollipop because Marshmallow is a clear 3 of, so it's worth thinking that your ratios may change with the addition of Marshmallow. I'll talk more about that after this combo. So anyhow, now you have your 2 other bodies in hand. Quick rule of thumb for playing Yummy, do not just summon monsters for no reason from your hand. You always want to save extension in your hand because you don't actually make your end board much better by just vomiting your hand onto the board. You instead want to keep them so that when your opponent activates cards or effects, whether you're playing into a board or playing through interruptions like hand traps, then you have these as gas to push through those things. You don't actually need these for your basic combo. So now you're going to special summon the Cupsy by keeping the Cookie in hand, so that this is our follow-up for, if our opponent does something to us. The Cupsy is obviously going to search for our Surprise, which is why Yum Yum Yummies, delicious as it may sound, is not actually in our main deck. So now we search for the Yummy Surprise, and we can activate the Yummy Surprise and bring out the Marshmallow. Now you may be thinking, if you've seen my previous video, my introduction to Yummy, isn't this kind of dangerous? Aren't you using your Surprise to bring another body out just to have more ceiling and losing your Surprise, which means that it's hard to play through stuff, and you also are losing an interaction on your opponent's turn because you won't have the Surprise? But the thing is, because we are bringing out the Marshmallow, whose effect we have not used yet, we can just immediately trigger it and add back the same Yummy Surprise that we just brought the Marshmallow out with. That is insane, because this is basically a free body. It means that the Yummy Surprise, we basically didn't even use it. We just use it and we get it back for free. So this just turns into a body for no reason at all. And now we have the Marshmallow Yummy on field. So now we can go into Metal or Martial Metal Marcher, and I'll explain the importance of this combo at the end. I just want to run you through it first. So the Martial Metal Marcher is going to bring back our Cupsy Synchro, but the effects are going to be negated. And now we can go into a Herald. So the important thing to notice in combos where there's some type of Omni Negate is when you are about to go into the Omni Negate, or well, actually, usually right before you go into it and not after, is when your opponent will be forced to activate things like Nibiru. But as you will notice, we still have the cookie and a yummy surprise in hand. So it doesn't really matter what they do to us at this point. If we're forcing a nib, then they nib, and whatever, we just continue to play. So anyhow, we go for the Herald of the Arclight, and we turn the negated Cupsy Synchro into a Yummy Snatchy. If this was not negated, we could consider this as an end board piece, because obviously, ideally, if you can, you want to have a non-negated Yummy Synchro monster on field, so that when our opponent activates a card or effect, we can tag out and bring our bodies back. But it is negated, which means that it's not useful for us right now, and we rather have a Yummy Snatchy on field. So now if we want to continue playing, because, you know, our opponent has not responded to our Herald, and so we think that they probably don't have a way to stop us, we can now decide, okay, we will use the cookie from hand, and we're going to go into a Lollipop Synchro. The Lollipop Synchro will now bring back 2 bodies from graveyard, and we can decide what we want to do here. The great thing, and now here's what I want to explain to you about this combo, is when we look at our end board, okay, so we have the Herald of the Arclight as the Omni-Negate. We have our Yummy Synchro monster, which is not negated, so this is currently a boss monster, and we have access to the Yummy Snatchy here with our Yummy Surprise set. In our graveyard, we have the Cupsy Yummy, so we can draw one or search when we bring this out off of the Lollipop Yummy or whatever else, and we are also going to have the Cookie, which will give us an option to pop. So if you take a look at this end board here for a moment, let me explain what's so critical about this. Using the surprise to revive that Marshmallow Yummy that I just showed you previously in the combo, and then that Marshmallow Yummy triggering to retrieve that surprise, effectively is a free body. So previously, for the 2-card combo, your end board would normally have something like Herald of the Arclight, the Lollipop Synchro, and Yummy Surprise set with the Snatchy by himself. But having this extra level 1 Yummy on field to go along with the Snatchy makes your end board far more resilient. If we did not have this extra level 1 body, it means that our opponent actually has to activate a card or effect for us to be able to trigger or to respond with the Lollipop Synchro in response. But because Yummy Snatchy can just quick effect during the main phase or the opponent's battle phase, pay 100 life points, and immediately synchro summon using monsters we control, it means that we don't have to wait for our opponent to do something just for us to be able to play. So sometimes you may have seen, for example, that an opponent will just normal summon a big body and run over something like a Herald. And then either you have to allow the Herald to die, or you have to burn your surprise to bring out your cookie, and then the cookie will reduce its attack by 1,000 so that it can't run over the Herald. And then you've used your surprise to do that, and it means that you're also not using the cookie to pop. You're using the cookie to reduce the attack. So you're not even using spot removal on your opponents where you could have otherwise. So having this extra level 1 body on field is a huge deal, because your Snatchy is effectively an interaction from the time your opponent starts playing in the main phase. You don't have to be responsive. You can be proactive instead. So that's a very, very big deal. The other thing is that your Marshmallow Yummy, the effect when special summoned by a synchro monster, being able to place your Yummy field spell from deck or banishment to the field, this weakness, as I explained before, fixes what is basically a lose condition in the deck. This is something that comes up more often in like a longer game, or after your opponent has tried to play through your board and they've maybe banished your field spell and you're now playing some type of grind game, or you're trying to win on the crackback. And so as long as you have the Marshmallow in rotation and you can bring that out, then you can still continue playing. So this is an extremely strong addition to the deck. And as I just give my final thoughts on the deck profile here, I think that you can consider playing different ratios of these main deck monsters. I have seen that certain lists are actually playing the Piri Rice map over more copies of Lollipop. I've seen some lists play like 2 Cookie and 1 or 2 Lollipop. The only thing that I don't like about the Piri Rice map is you have to activate this at the start of your main phase 1. It does, I guess, pair with Droplet in a sense that this is a free send, but you have to activate it at the start of your main phase 1, and you search for a monster with 0 attack from your deck to your hand and have your life points. But after you add it to your hand until the end of your next turn, after this card resolves, you cannot activate the added monster's effects or effects of cards with its name until you normal summon that monster. So usually you would be searching the Marshmallow Yummy, and you will normal summon the Marshmallow Yummy, and then that's totally fine. But the problem is that if people are still playing Droll in that format, you will go from playing a deck that does not lose to Droll at all to immediately getting hit by Droll before you've gotten your double search off the Cupsy Synchro or search for your surprise off the Cupsy. So I don't want to say this card is bad. I think that this is a very solid card you can play in the main deck. I just would be very scared to play this if I think that Droll may be in the format. So you actually are searching for the Cupsy, not the Marshmallow. I misspoke there, because this only searches something with 0 attack, and it's the Cupsy that has 0 attack. The Marshmallow does not have 0 attack. It has 800 attack. So yeah, these are my current thoughts on Yummy for Doom of Dimensions. This makes Pure a lot more viable. I'm not going to cover the other variants for this because Doom of Dimensions isn't out yet, and I still want to cover a lot of Justice Hunter stuff, but I wanted to talk about Yummy because this is a really, really strong deck that becomes possibly, debatably, the best deck in the format post Doom of Dimensions. Okay guys, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to my channel, feel free to do so. If you want to buy me a coffee, link is in the description below. All of that donation will go into the channel. I have some very cool ideas for you in the future. Okay, thanks guys.